The NBA is falling right in front of our eyes. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel, hosted by your boy B Souls, aka Ned Souls, aka Russell from Up. You know the vibes, man. You know the vibes. I think I'm gonna go back to uploading these unscripted videos on the channel. You know, I'm trying to show more personality on the channel. I'm not trying to be too scripted in all my videos. So here's my attempt in doing so. If you haven't already, leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on notifications. You know the vibes, man. Follow me on Instagram at B Souls. But with that being said, let's get into this video. So we are right around 2-3 weeks into the season, and it is getting tumultuous. The NBA world looks confused. It is kerfuffled. Look at me using big words. And there have been talks that the NBA might be suspended once again. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the NBA the past couple of weeks, what you've noticed is there are a couple of games that have already been postponed, that have already been canceled due to COVID guidelines. Primarily because of how the league has the COVID guidelines set up and how that affects teams as a whole. Now, for the people who don't know, you need a minimum of 8 players on your roster for every game for you to be eligible to play in those games. And due to contact tracing, there are players around the league who aren't even directly affected by the virus that aren't allowed to play because they've been in contact with someone who has. Now, mind you, in a basketball game, there are 10 players on the court at any given time. There are coaches, there are assistant coaches, there's people on the bench, there's media members, there's security. So if one player on the court, one player in that near vicinity has had the virus, you can count every single person on the court in the stadium as a player or as a person who's been in close contact with someone with COVID. And it's not just with the NBA, but the general guidelines with the country is that if you are in close contact with someone that has been infected with the virus, that you are going to be asked to quarantine for 10 to 14 days. The biggest example so far is Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum with the Boston Celtics. And it's really annoying because so far in the season, he was having a really good season. I think as of right now, the Celtics have the best record in the league. And now he's unable to play for the next 10 to 14 days when he technically might not even be injured. And don't get me wrong, I get the safety aspects of it. I mean, the league has to do what it has to do. But I'm just saying, as a fan, that's just tough, man. That's just tough. I was really excited to see Jason Tatum play this season. But on top of players missing games because of these guidelines, injuries haven't stopped. Injuries haven't stopped. Ever since the pandemic happened, you can still break your ankle. You can still get a torn ACL. You can still rupture your Achilles. These injuries haven't stopped. So you combine that with players missing games because of the guidelines and players missing games because of injuries, and you have more situations than at least I thought where teams are undermanned going into games and they are forced to play with just 8 players or postpone the game altogether. If you guys don't know, the last 2 Celtics games have already been postponed, and just 3 days ago, the 76ers played a game with 8 players. But on top of the postponing and cancellations and players missing games, if you have been on Twitter lately, there has been this conversation going on, or at least, you know, a decent amount of people noticing that there have been a lot of blowouts this year. There have been a lot of blowouts. And at first I thought maybe this was just something that happens every year, that we're kind of blowing out of proportion because of everything going on. But the more I thought about it, I don't think so. Or at least there should be a higher percentage this year compared to previous years. And that has to do with everything that's going on. For one, some teams have either had the shortest off seasons of their life or the longest off seasons of their life. There are teams that were not able to make the bubble back in July that really haven't played since March. On the contrary, we have the Lakers and the Heat who were just playing basketball 2-3 months ago. So I feel like there's this weird mix of teams either being really rusty or being tired, just not into it. And speaking of not being into it, you guys have heard people say in the past that the regular season doesn't really matter. I mean, we're only 20 games into the season. I mean, who cares? It's all about the playoffs. So if that's the case for a regular year with nothing going on, then imagine how it is this year when there's no fans in the arena. And quite frankly, I just get this whole vibe from this NBA season that it feels more like a contractual obligation than it is a season that everyone's really excited about. And I just feel like, at least for me, I don't feel the stakes this season. I don't feel that pressure of who's gonna win the championship. And while there should be greater storylines this season, I feel like the main storyline this season is just the NBA existing amidst everything going on with the pandemic. And I think this is a reason why we've been seeing so many blowouts so far. For the people who actually watch games, which I swear to God, when I go on Twitter, it doesn't seem like many people, but for the people who actually watch the games when there are fans, let me give you a scenario. Your team is down by 15, it is the third quarter, and you're trying to make a comeback. Let's just say for all intents and purposes right now, you are a Celtics fan. Marcus Smart gets a steal, dunks the ball on the fast break. We get back on defense, get a stop, give it to Jason Tatum, Hezzo 3, Kemba Walker pick and roll with Daniel Tice, lob to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown throws it down, the crowd goes crazy, and the other team is forced to call a timeout because the crowd is going crazy and the Celtics are getting that momentum. And they just need to put a halt to it. That aspect of the game has been lost this season. And that is a regular scenario that happens in every game in a regular season with fans in the arena. A regular season that in that scenario is considered already pointless and doesn't really mean much because the playoffs and we're only 30 games into the season. So again, just imagine how it is right now. And actually found this interview of Damian Lillard addressing this exact same problem, and this is what he said.
I don't think nobody has said, but I would say it's probably has something to do with the environment that we're playing in. Going into the bubble, we knew we wouldn't have fans, but I think the NBA did a great job of just setting the stage. It was screens, it was virtual fans. It felt like a game, and I think now being in these big arenas, no fans, quick turnaround from last season. I think you're going to have some people who are like, still getting their mind into the season. You're going to have some people who are looking around like, man, we got to create our own energy. It's no true energy in the building. If you get down by 17 or 18, in some of these games, you can see it where in the past, you hit a couple shots, the crowd goes wild. Other team calls a timeout, a chant gets going, there's energy in the building. And now it's like you get down 18 to 20, only thing you can hear is the other team. There's no energy being pumped into the opposing team. So I think that charge of teams getting back into games isn't the same.
So I guess the question at hand that we obviously have to answer is, what does the NBA do moving forward? What should the NBA do moving forward? Because if we're just keeping it a buck, links in the description, you know what I'm saying? But if we're just keeping it a buck, man, what we're seeing right now is a compromised product. It is. You have teams missing their best players when they technically might not even be injured. Come on. And again, I just want to clarify, I get the safety aspects of it. I'm just talking about the basketball aspect of it, the NBA product. That is what I'm talking about. You have games being postponed on top of injuries that teams already have to take care of. So to me, this is just my proposition. The vaccine is already out. It's not as widely available as it is right now, but it will be in the next couple of months. In my opinion, this is just me, and I don't know how this will affect the rest of the season that's already shortened, how it'll affect the regular NBA cycle moving forward, but I feel like right now, I would just halt the season. I would. And you either wait till everyone gets vaccinated and everything is more open so you can also have more fans in the arena, or you go back to the bubble, go back to Orlando, and do it how it was just a couple months ago. But I'm honestly not too sure how viable that is, because back when the bubble was actually happening, that was just for a couple months. And 3-4 months already seems like a long enough time. But when we're talking about the whole or a majority of the regular season and the playoffs as well, that's going to be a very big commitment from a majority of NBA teams. This isn't just a select amount of teams. This isn't just, 16, 17 teams. We're talking about all 30 teams in a bubble for a longer period of time. So I don't think the bubble's gonna happen, but that is just me. Let me know what y'all think about all of this in the comment section down below. It's gonna be very interesting. And this video right here might already be outdated in a couple days, but who cares, man? This is my channel. I want to talk basketball, and this is what's on my mind right now. Leave a like if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But with that being said, I am out. Deuces.